This particular maple leaf is the one I'm going to paint on silk today. It has a rather complicated shape, so it needs to be drawn well first. If schematically, this is the general size. Here is the center and the place where the stem is attached. The center axis. At about right angles are the other two axes, and approximately in between them are the side axes. The bottom ones are quite short. Knowing the internal construction, you can draw the leaf itself. The axes are the most important thing to trace in the leaf, and other maple leaves can be a lot different in the direction of the axis in the leaf outline. Now I'm going to repeat drawing the same thing, only with this particular leaf in mind. Its central axis is tilted to the side. The side axes are slightly curved, but I need to keep it perpendicular. Here's the general curvature of the leaf. Symmetry is rare in nature, so I try to carefully replicate this asymmetry. The top of this axis is higher than this one. And the character of each side is different. For instance, here is a smoother line and here is a sharper one. Maple stems have such a specific detail. At the attachment point it has this shape. By tracing the drawing with a marker and playing the leaf detective, I again correct the shape and watching the leaf carefully, looking at the direction of each peak, and they are all different. One may be longer and bent, another shorter and straight. And of course, my drawing is still different from the original. Not all of the veins are clearly visible. I only draw the ones I recognize. But the more attention to drawing, the more convincing it will be in the end. I know the maple leaf has a complicated shape. The more complicated the better, right? But just in case, I'll leave you with a great drawing. Silk I have today is Jacquard, and there are two peculiarities that should be taken into account. The first is to check it for what I call fluidity, and the second, when applying resist on the dense silk. The resist line may not penetrate the entire depth of the fabric. I turned the frame over and you can see the line is faint and discontinuous. I choose crimson, orange, dark brown, and it's quite concentrated. And I don't know if I'll use yellow, probably not, but we'll see. But painting a maple leaf is much easier than drawing. What I'm going to do now is outline the main color first, as always with slight variations. Mixing orange and crimson makes a beautiful red color, and depending on whether I add more crimson or orange, I get a warmer or cooler shade of red. But overall I'm making kind of a red base, which I'm going to vary later on wet silk. In the meantime, I would like to achieve a dense, bright color. As for the jacquard, jacquard is a fabric in which the pattern is created by interlacing threads. It can be single-colored, as in my case, or multicolored. There is more orange color in this place, with almost no crimson added. For the color to be more saturated, I'm barely diluting it with water. At this point the leaf has a basic color with variations, and by now I can already introduce brown and darken the maple leaf in the right places. I wanted to say that I appreciate every like, every comment, every subscriber, and if you have questions, please feel free to ask them. I usually answer. And thank you very much to those who give the reactions to my videos. And yes, as for grid drawing, please let me know if you need patterns on the grid, so I know whether to do it for you next time. I try to keep the play of light and shadow distribution of the leaf as much as possible. Probably while the silk is wet you can't see these flecks of crimson, but when the silk dries the color will be denser and have a cold shade. And perhaps I could stop at this point, because even now I find the leaf quite colorful and beautiful, but I would always like to pull the image to the reference, and I will continue to paint further. Then I'll show you both the more and less finished versions, and ask you to tell me which one you like better. To be honest, I really like to work on Jacquard Satin. It gives an additional play of textures and colors and make the image more complex and interesting. I like images to be interesting. Eventually, in the world of silk painting, every leaf has its own runway, and you are the designer. This time it's all done in one coat of paint, no glazing. As you probably know, on silk the colors spread out a lot, and the image after drying can become flat and less expressive. To keep all the color in its place, it's better to dry silk with a hair dryer. Here are two options, less finished and more. Which one do you think is better? Which one do you like most? And about the color of the background, many options can work here. And what background would you leave this leaf on? Please write in the comments below, I'm curious.